Hello, welcome to the October Raleigh Transit Authority meeting, Thursday, October 12th. Call this meeting to order today at 3:37. We'll do introductions starting from the left.
My name is Mark Teague.
Sarah Roof.
Linda Davis.
Latonya Williams.
Jennifer Truman.
Tallulah Peo Mokaye.
Karen Ringe.
Bryce Connors. Leo Suarez.
And welcome to our also new members, at least to me. Welcome to the Transit Authority. I think we had one meeting with you possibly. Are there any additions or revisions to the agenda?
Yes, staff does have a couple of additions. First thing, we need to recognize that we have two members, including the chair, that will be rotating off the end of their term early in December. So it would be good if the board today can make a nomination to move up, send forward to City Council for your new chair.
Is that all?
The second item is to, staff is recommending that our December meetings be canceled. At this time, staff doesn't see anything on the horizon that would need to be brought forward in December. That's totally a decision for the board. If you think there are other things that you may want to talk about, that's fine, but staff doesn't see anything on the horizon that we need to talk about in December. And the meeting is kind of late. I believe it's the 14th, so it's getting really close to the holidays.
But what about the going away party for the chair and the other members who are leaving the board after many years? Just kidding.
We can schedule that after hours. And then the third thing is there was a request to have a new board member orientation, since we do have quite a few new board members, and obviously with two additional members rotating off in December, that might be a good thing to think about scheduling. We could do that sometime in late November or early December if you wanted. We're also trying to schedule, or looking to schedule, the annual RTA board member retreat. And in years past, we have combined those. If you wanted to do that, that would make it more of a full day versus a half day. But tentatively, we were looking at January the 11th, which is the January board meeting date. So if we'd be glad to have conversation about that.
All right. Do you all want to go ahead and let's jump into those. So starting from the bottom, the retreat scheduling, if we do it all in one day, if you all do it all in one day in January, that will be like a 10 o'clock to 5:30 or so day. So if you all are okay with that, then the retreat and the meeting can be in the same day. If not, then we can separate those days and have them on two separate days. Any thoughts?
I think it would be great to have it all in one day.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
All right. So what date in January are you thinking?
I have January 11th written down on my notes here. I'm pretty sure that's the date for the January board meeting. We picked that just because most people would already have that one blocked off, at least the afternoon.
Madam Chair, I would like to recommend, though I will no longer be on the board, that part of the presentation for the orientation for new members is on the Wake Transit Plan that went into effect in 2016, 2017, because those of us who are rotating off the board were more familiar with it than the current board members, and it's really the basis of everything we're doing now. So, thank you.
Agreed. So January 11th, good for everybody, from about 10 to 5:30, 6 o'clock-ish for the board meeting, because it'll follow up right at the end of the retreat. All right, solid. New board orientation. No, it's two separate things, right? The retreat is different from the new board orientation.
Well, the retreat typically is just a half a day. So if we do the whole day, then in theory, we would do the retreat that morning and then have the orientation in the morning and then have the retreat in the afternoon.
Okay, so all of that is in January, not late November, early December.
Correct, and unless there was a desire to have the orientation a little bit sooner. So that, I guess that was what was really on the table first, is it important for the newer members to get that orientation quicker than January 11th?
I guess it depends on the agenda of the retreat, like how many action items, because last time we were overwhelmed at the last retreat that took up majority of the time. So it depends on the agenda of the retreat before we decide to do the new orientation. So it may be better to do the orientation in December, perhaps, or what month is this? November? I don't know.
I think also, new members, do you feel like you would like some orientation before January?
No.
Madam Chair, I know we do have all our new members here today, except for, I think, Christian Daniels, but will there be additional new members since 2 are rolling off?
Well, we have a full board, even with us rolling off, because the 2 of the new members are alternates right now.
But I thought it was 9 members plus 2 alternates.
Well, no, we've often had just the members of the board. So the members of the board are the priority in it. And then as we go along, we add on alternates. So it will be a full board once we roll off. I do suggest that we do the new member orientation this year also, though, and that's mostly because we mostly have a newer board. So some of the seasoned authority members might just be able to add some tribal knowledge to whatever information we're being given at the new member orientation, since we won't be here after that. So that is my suggestion, but it's what you all want to do.
You can always come back just for that.
Anything gonna change the locks? So what are your thoughts? That means that it could be an early December meeting to get it out the way. It could be a late November before Thanksgiving type of meeting. How long do we need for new member orientation?
2 hours minimum, I would say, up to 3.
It'd be like a committee meeting. Maybe you all can throw out some dates.
For December?
Yeah. And then we can just circle back on it in November.
Sure.
Can it be virtual? Would that make it easier?
I think we'd have to, yeah, well, we'll have to check. I don't think we do,
I think we're allowed to be virtual.
yeah.
Even if it's not a meeting,
It's not a meeting, it's orientation. That's
then it's not a committee meeting.
Well, if you have a quorum, then it's a meeting.
No.
Yeah.
Will one of y'all not show up? Do it.
Okay, I won't show up.
right.
Yeah, it's basically for the new members.
I'll take one for the
And maybe a
team.
couple of the older ones that want to participate. Everybody doesn't have to be a part of the new member orientation. Thoughts?
I wonder if we just take the December board date and make it that.
We can do that.
I think they're trying to get away from the December date so that they
Then we
can.
don't have to have, we wouldn't necessarily have to have committee meetings to,
Right, yeah, so
we
It could
wouldn't
be
necessarily
any
have
of
to have
those.
committee meetings in December. We could have it the week of committee or at the board meeting date, and it would lighten staff's load, but still allow us to get together to say goodbye.
I like
We'll
that
have it
idea.
during a committee meeting date? Because I think he was looking to cancel those too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
that, again, if that's what you decide,
Maybe the first week in December.
I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm beating this, but my committee has been working on the bylaws, and the bylaws we've developed so far say that we operate with 9 board members plus 2 alternates. So I guess I'm just wondering, I know that we have not had 11 since I've been on the board, if you counted the 9 plus 2 alternates. But I was thinking, since we're making all these or we're writing bylaws that have to do with an alternate gets to do blah, 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 and a full board member comes to every meeting and votes, I'm just asking, should we really be writing bylaws that say 7 plus 2 alternates? I mean, we need 9 because we have 3 operating committees, so it just seems to me that we sure need 9, but if we are, I guess that's my question. Should we be recruiting and trying to find two approval for two additional who will be the alternates?
Linda, we had good conversations about the bylaws and the drafts. We have 11, we're missing 2.
Yeah.
And so maybe it would be simplest to, who's an actual board member that's here today? Could we raise hands so we could see? So we've got
Yes, though.
one, what's
We're
that?
rolling off. They're talking about going forward.
See, that's what I meant,
Yeah.
is when they roll off, we'd only have 9.
Sure. And so Dr. Ruth and Leo will be sliding up because they.
I thought they already are.
Are they already?
They
Okay.
already are.
And that's good, okay. So Mark and Christian will be coming up.
So,
Her issue is that then that leaves the vacancy of the 2 alternates.
I understand.
Are you suggesting we have the new member orientation after those 2 alternates are appointed?
well, that's sort of where I was going,
Okay.
but I also wanted to make sure that Mark and Christian know right now they're about to become full-fledged, and they better be at the orientation. I guess it was just the mechanics of when do we make sure we've got 2 alternates in the
Yeah.
pipeline?
Well, I
You
think
can have
that,
orientation more than once, so I don't think that should be a problem.
and the bylaws have not been voted in yet. So we don't have to have the 2 alternates right now to have new board orientation.
Oh, I understand that. I was just trying to think ahead, because if something happens, I'm not going to say if somebody got hit by a bus. Sorry. But if anything happened, between now and,
No, I understand, Linda.
January.
You all don't want, your committee shouldn't be writing go into 2024 and have to edit. I understand that.
or just that we would, I don't know who signals the city council that they need to approve 2 more people,
Sure.
That's all I meant. I just don't know when we're supposed to be looking for 2 alternates, if we already know we're about to.
Staff works with the city clerk's office, and as folks are rotating off, we're communicating with them, and then they start making preparations to announce that at city council so they can start looking for volunteers.
So today that you'll be doing that in December. Okay, thank
Do we
you.
have any interests so far?
I'm not aware of, we don't receive that information.
Okay. Are we good on the?
Yeah, when we get to my committee, we are planning to report out at the November meeting our final draft bylaws, so we will be presenting those to the full authority in November.
Okay. That still leaves the issue of the retreat, the new board orientation.
Forgive my candidness, but if it's new member orientation, should we ask the new members when they want their orientation to be?
That was the
Sure.
question out there.
Okay.
We just only heard from one person.
Sure. Well, then maybe we should push it. And I hate to say that, but if we can't get decisions.
Well, I would say the committee meeting is open if you guys want to use that date and time. So that's 2 hours right there, so.
Maybe you could say what the date is, and then we could just do it as a decision, or, I don't know.
And I actually value what the chair mentioned in terms of feedback from those who have been on the committee, and so I would love that input. But also, I did arrive without an orientation, and so you're learning from each member, so I think it would be wise to, if someone is coming prior to that, to have that orientation. So there's it's not as clear, the answer. I would love to have this input. And so booting it to next year, my comfort says yes. But I've arrived with no orientation, and so the urgency of that says that's probably needed, especially with the input of those who are rolling off the council or the committee.
Well, they're rolling off in December, so you want to wait to January where they're not here?
No, I'm saying the urgency of needing their wisdom in that meeting, I think would be tremendous.
So really, I think people were saying should we're going to, I think people were saying we're going to have it in December and not wait till January, but then what's the date in December? So picking committee or full authority board dates could be safe since those are already on all of our calendars. It's about to be canceled, but we do have these dates on our calendar, so if we made the orientation one of those.
So for clarification, the retreat will have all members, including those who are rolling off.
That, yes,
So-
in January.
So I'm getting a no down there.
Oh,
We don't, I mean.
That's what we're trying to tell you.
It'd be open to everybody, but oftentimes it's just the current board that goes to the retreat.
May I just provide my expertise? While I appreciate, Leah, that you're interested in just waiting, but the retreat is very different than the orientation. I mean, the orientation is really about really understanding Go Raleigh and what we do and how we do it. And the orientation, I mean, the retreat's much more forward-looking. Like, what are our goals? What are the things that we as an authority would like to see accomplished? So while they could be done on the same day, I just think might be prudent for new members to get an orientation sooner than later. I mean, some of you have been here coming for a few months, and so, but I'm done, so.
What's the route committee date for December?
It is December 5th at 11.
Does that work for everybody?
So moved.
second.
So it's been moved and seconded that we will host our new board orientation on Tuesday, December 5th at
No, 11:30, right? 11:30. Sorry.
11:30.
So that will also be the city council meeting date, which is at 1 o'clock. So we may want to, if we're going to do it on that date, let's maybe try to pull it earlier in the morning.
What time?
Give us a little bit, so we can finish that up in case we do have to go to council.
So December 5th at 10 a.m.?
Is that good?
That would be 2 hours.
All right, is that good for everyone's calendars?
That
as
works for
well
me.
here?
That works.
All right, so all in favor of hosting the new board orientation on December 5th at 10 a.m., say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I was thinking one, we're gonna have at least one. All right, so it's been passed that the new board orientation will be held on December 5th at 10 a.m. And we'll get a calendar invite out for that. The December meetings, do you all want to go ahead and cancel those? All right, would somebody like to make a motion to cancel the December authority meeting?
I propose we cancel December committee meetings and the full authority meeting.
Second.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded that we cancel all of the authority meetings in December. That would be the committee and the full authority meetings. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, so we'll cancel all the meetings in December and just host a new board orientation on the 5th. All right, to the last item of the additions, as I roll off of the authority, we do have to nominate a new chair. Jen stepped in as the vice chair, but we did discuss revisiting who would be the chair later, especially since we have new members and we want their input. And everybody has an opportunity to throw their hat in the ring. So is anybody interested in being the chair of the Transit Authority? Other than Jen?
I was just going to officially say I'm still interested in being chair, if the authority would support that.
I'd love to have Jen be our chair.
All right, perfect. So it's been moved and somebody want to make a motion?
I second.
Yeah, I make a motion that we nominate Jen as the chair going into the 2024 calendar year.
And I second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of Jen Truman being the new chair of the Raleigh Transit Authority starting in 2024, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations.
Madam Chair, what about chairs of the committees?
Yes, so we do need to get to that also, which would then leave a space for the vice chair also. So let's just discuss all of that now. We do have one person who is interested in being vice chair, but again, with the full authority, giving everybody the opportunity to throw their hat in the ring. Is anybody interested in being the vice chair of the Transit Authority starting in 2024?
Too soon. Feel too soon.
All right, well, we're gonna need a vice chair of the Transit Authority, so maybe we consider that. So in November, everybody search your hearts and minds, and it doesn't matter how long you've been here, but we do need a person to step up to assist Jen as the chair of the authority in the vice chair position, which then leaves us to the committees. How many committees need an open chair? Marketing, is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Is anybody interested in being the chair of the marketing committee starting in 2024? Awesome.
I nominate Bryce.
Bryce has been nominated.
I nominate Bryce Connors, who will be very ably serving as chair.
Agreed.
I second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of Bryce becoming the chair of the marketing committee starting January 2024, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Congratulations, Bryce. I'm sure all of these roles will be well in you all's hands. Okay, so now we're jumping back into the agenda for the meeting. We have 2 minutes. Let's just go ahead and jump into public comment, and then we'll start the rest of the agenda.
Do you want to do the approval of the minutes?
Oh, yes. Do we have, oh, yes. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second,
Which month? You have to say that in making a motion.
the August minutes.
August? All right, so it's been moved and properly seconded that we approve August minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes for August have been approved. All right, now we'll just take a break and pause the meeting so we can have public comment. We're pausing this meeting at 3:59.
So you do have in front of you an emailed comment that we printed out and provided to each member. So if you want to review that.
This public comment was submitted on October 12th by Vince Conzola. For safety reasons, I've requested multiple times that the time check for the Route 2 bus be moved from near the intersection of Falls and News to Millbrook Road to a location a few steps earlier at St. Raphael's Church where there's an exiting bus lane. This change would eliminate the hazard of drivers who get stuck behind a waiting bus unexpectedly pulling into the adjacent lane to get around the stop bus. I have seen and been involved in several near accidents that could be avoided if the time check location would change. Can we change it?
Staff can certainly take a look at that.
All right. Can we have a resolution to this by November? At least to whether or not we can change the,
Would you want to refer that to Route Committee and we can kind of have some conversation there?
I'll do that.
all right, perfect. So if you all can discuss in Route Committee whether or not we can have this moved to avoid any accidents. Thank you very much. Any other comments in regards to that?
I live about a minute and from where this stop is, and it is a serious concern.
Thank you for that. Have we gotten any concerns on any other stops other than this one? Just maybe not as a public comment, but just somebody writing in or emailing in? Or have we done an assessment to our stops? I know that things have changed since we put them there a while ago.
Staff does receive calls and emails on occasion, and when we get those, we do review them and make adjustments when and where we can.
Okay.
Bryce, I have a question. Is this where the lane turns from 3 to 2?
Yes, so if you are going down Falls of Neuse, past there's a state employees credit union on the right before you get to that Harris Teeter. It's right between there and where the Harris Teeter is, and it does go from 3 on Wake Forest as you leave the very narrow lanes of Wake Forest into 2. That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. If there have been any recent, my suggestion, if there have been any recent comments about stops or their hazard, since Route is already going to address this, if those can be added, if that's possible. All right, our next public comment is from Jonathan M. Please come to the podium and give us your name and email address.
Hi, my name is Jonathan McDonald. I'm a resident of the College Park neighborhood in downtown Raleigh. My
One moment, I'm
concern-
sorry. Can we have your email address?
Jonathan McDonald, JONATHAN, McDonald, MACDONALD, 123@gmail.com.
All right, thank you.
My concerns today are with the safety at the Go Raleigh station. I've seen the recent uptick with RPD at the station, and I think it's great. However, RPD can only do so much with the limited resources they have downtown. So I would increase the board to ask City Council to have some form of transit police down there that are actually dedicated to the station. Because I've seen potential fistfights about to break up at the station. I've seen drug deals go down at the station now. And I haven't seen, and it's been getting worse recently since the 4 years I've moved to Raleigh. And it's not the same city it used to be. And I know places change over the same time, but we should really do something to address the activity that is going on at the station. It makes people, because I had friends come up here from Orlando 3 weeks ago. They didn't feel safe taking transit. And I had to explain to them, it's like, I felt so bad because I didn't know what to tell them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments before we all jump into it?
Thank you for sharing that. Seen some of those same things myself at stops in the station. I know we talked a little bit about this en route, so I don't know if now's the time to share the staff updates on what we are doing and what we can say that we're doing on the transit side right now, or if you want to wait until later in the meeting.
You can go ahead and say it now.
So I'll defer to Mr. Walker, but what was discussed in route committee was that the RITP Dev has asked for funding for transit-specific security from the WIC Transit Plan funding so that we can start to have something that's transit-specific. And while simultaneously, I think we've all heard in the news that the city manager's office and the council is working on something for all over downtown. I don't know, can you share more details like you shared with us at the committee?
And the cost.
Sure. So staff actually made a second quarter amendment to the TPAC for two separate projects that would provide additional funding for security in and around Go Raleigh Station as a primary focus, but with availability to respond and ride buses when and if needed occasionally. That was approved at the Project Development Subcommittee, I don't think it was last week, 2 weeks ago, and it will be in front of TPAC next Wednesday for approval. If it's approved there, then it would go to the Campo and Go Triangle Executive Boards for final approval. All in total between the two projects, on an annual basis, I believe the number was about $850,000 to provide a person that would provide oversight of 2 shifts with 2 armed security officers on each shift, working 10 hours, 10-hour shifts, 7 days a week. So that
24/7? Or?
No, not 24/7, but 2 10-hour shifts, basically, with 2 officers on each shift.
So that was for a supervisor and 2 officers, correct?
Well, it would be a total of 4 officers daily.
Gotcha.
So, and that would be through a contracted service, not actual employees of RATP Dev.
So for 20-hour coverage per
Correct.
day?
Correct.
What times would they be working?
That we would have to figure that out. I think the original request that we put in was for 2 8-hour shifts, and as we talked to different vendors, they all recommended to do a 10-hour shift, which made it a little bit easier for them to schedule and keep employees employed at 40 hours a week. I think we were looking at 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. with 8-hour shifts. So if you add a couple hours per shift and expand an hour on either side of that, or a couple of hours on either side of that.
Would any of the fund, are you asking TPAC to cover 100% of the cost?
TPEC would cover what I stated. The City of Raleigh Police have existing transit officers that stay at the station and surrounding blocks. They're not dedicated to Go Raleigh Station, but that is where their primary focus is. I think their beat ranges from Morgan Street to a couple of blocks south of Martin. I think it's Davie or Cabarrus. So they have an area of the downtown district that those transit officers specifically cover. And we did the math to figure out what those costs are for the RPD officers and all of their equipment and vehicles. And essentially, it's going to break out to be about a 50-50 split between the city's investment in the transit facility and station and surrounding areas and what the Wake Transit Plan would be investing. Based on the Raleigh police officers would continue with their existing schedule, so that would not come out. What we would bring on board with the Wake Transit Plan funding would be additional and supplemental to what RPD already provides.
So these would be private security people, not part of Raleigh Police?
Correct.
So they'd be in a different kind of uniform and...
And I believe when you mentioned it before, they would be supervised under RITP Dev or by
They would be contract employees of a security firm. Mm-hmm. One of the projects that we provided an amendment for would be a security professional that would be housed within, that position would be housed within RATP Dev, and then they would have oversight of that security contract. So they would help direct where and how those officers reported and what their duties and responsibilities are. They would work very closely with that. They would have contract oversight for that security.
Okay.
And I know there's a larger conversation around sustainability of sort of securing downtown. Is this a position that's long-term, and then what went into the equation to say we need 2 or 4, for that particular contract?
Quite honestly, it was just a starting point. We reached out. We started. Well, not we. We had RATP Dev reach out to multiple different security firms and start that conversation and said, if we were to do this, what would you want? And every single company that we talked to said, I'm not going to put one person down there. You got to have 2. And so if you've got 2, that's only an 8 or a 10-hour shift. So if you want a larger span of coverage, then that means you got to expand that to 4. So that seemed right to start. And then ultimately, if we feel like, once we get those boots on the ground and it's operating as, we need it to for 6 months or a year, and we see if there's a need to expand that, then we could certainly come back to the Wake Transit Plan and ask for additional funding if needed.
Thank you.
I know we've asked for this before, but can we get a report on incidents on the bus and at our stops?
Or in the station, I think also.
Everything that has to do with Go Raleigh, can we get an incident report on not just the number, but the type, who's involved, was it direct? I think that'll help us also.
I think we are providing that now. It's in the performance metrics report that's attached to the route committee in board docs. Unfortunately, Bill is not here today. His mother passed away earlier this week, so he won't be here to report out on those metrics. But those are available in board docs.
Thank you.
Who makes the final decision about this? Is it the city council or is it TPAC?
The funding request? That funding request goes through the TPAC governance structure. So the project development subcommittee approved it. It then goes to TPAC. If TPAC approves it, it then goes to the Campo Executive Board and the Go Triangle Executive Board. If they both approve it, then it's done. If there's a split vote, one approved it and one said no, then it goes to Wake County Commissioners for it to be the tiebreaker.
And do we have any elected officials sitting on Campo now? Is it the mayor?
Yes, I believe so.
It's
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem Branch.
Do you have anything that you want to share with us on this?
Not at this time. I'm just getting the information, as well as just going through the process. And I have other conversations with Campo, as well as with Go Triangle, as the mayor and I are both on the Go Triangle board as well. So we'll have two shots at approving this or not approving it.
Okay.
But it's going to be part of the holistic conversation that we're still waiting to get some more information back from the rest of the staff.
For the holistic conversation about security for all of downtown? Okay, well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I guess my question is, if we're having incidents and things now, how long will it take for us to make a decision about what we're going to do about it? Anybody?
So
Is there anything that we can do in the interim while we're waiting to have that larger holistic conversation? We are having issues, so is there anything that we can do while we're waiting for the approval of the funds, something as a placeholder?
we are looking at multiple options to potentially expedite getting some additional security officers down there ahead of potential funding through the TPAC. We've got to consider procurement rules and procedures. We're looking at existing contracts with the city, and I see the mayor pro tem.
Yeah, so also, right now, we've already increased security with our police officers in a sense. So there's been a bigger police presence. So with the bigger police presence that we currently have there, that's something that, from a sustainability standpoint, we probably can't do for months and months at a time. So that's happening right now, gives us time to come in, bring in security as needed, and then look at other options. So as of right now, we have already worked to increase police presence there. So this is something, so going long term, that we can do so that we can kind of help segment our police department throughout the city. Because this isn't the only place where we're having issues along transit.
Thank you for that.
Right.
So I recommended en route, and I had recommended this before in amongst the whole committee, but I want to bring it up again. Even though the transit is free, just like the library, you need a library card. So we probably should look into re-implementing cards. Everyone has a Go Raleigh pass to get onto bus, to eliminate allowing for any and everybody just to get on the bus. I mean, that's a step, a process, but I think that would be something to help in the interim.
That actually that's a good segue to our liaison, a question to our liaison. We've been asking to Mayor Pro Tem, we've been asking questions about bringing back the fares to add safety to the bus. Is there any way that we can add that element, or is that a part of the conversation? That's something that we can do? Our operators have asked, we've asked.
So I've asked as well, and staff is supposed to be coming to us, is it next week or early November, with, I think, in a work session with an update on what it would take to bring back fares. From my understanding, and this is public knowledge, from the time that we say we want to bring back fares, it takes about 6 months for them to actually be able to do it. So I know I've had some conversations with our staff already on this. We've had conversations within the community, especially from those groups that push for fare free. And I think we're at a point now where once we receive some more information on what's the process, because a lot of our operators that we have now have never taken fares, because we had retirement and things of that nature. So we have a lot of operators who were hired during COVID, so they all have to go through a process. I know on the Go Triangle board, they are already starting that process of training their operators, and Go Triangle will be starting fares back July 1.
Oh, really?
probably RTB Dev should be doing training along the way anyway, so I'm sure they're probably doing that, even though we are fare-free. But, if we can bring back, even not the fare, but bring back the cards at least, and maybe a small minimum, because I know not just the riders, but not just the drivers, but there are a lot of riders complaining about safety, concern getting to work safely, getting home safely, so.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions? I don't want him to walk back and forth.
Yeah, anything else? Because
Anything
I
else?
do, there's an event for Habitat for Humanity today that I'm actually about to walk out this meeting to go to that for, but is there anything else, if you don't mind, y'all have, Madam Chair, y'all have for me while I'm here?
I'd just like to add, first of all, thank you very much for paying attention to this, because obviously our concern is we want our riders and our operators to be safe, and we don't want to discourage people from using our expanded transit system. I mentioned this at the last meeting to RTP Dev, that one of the things I've been noticing is there seems to be a decline in maintenance at Go Raleigh Station. It's just dirtier than it used to be, and I think, again, for the rider experience, that should be, and I think it can also connect with a sense of security, of feeling safe, and when we're taking care of the place where most people go through.
Yeah, last month you mentioned power washing and that process and how long and cleanliness. And my understanding, staff was going to go back and revisit and look at ways to improve cleanliness. Also, there's a conversation we've had with the city staff about just downtown as well in different areas. So as far as the Raleigh Transit Authority, you did bring that up last meeting, and I think staff was going to go back and look at it. That was my understanding when I was sitting here listening.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time today. In terms of the 6-month notice that we would need to return to fares, would that alter the timeline for this authority to be having those conversations, so then council can then have those conversations, if there was going to be a return hypothetically down the road?
I think council's already been having conversations about it and where we're going and looking at it. So, I mean, definitely sending the information, sending the request, but I do know the conversation has been had. It's been had with the city manager's office as well about, looking at fares. I can at least speak on my behalf of having those conversations. It's just getting it all brought before the entire council, and the entire council getting 5 people to say go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think on our end, we've done our part, but we voted on it.
Probably should vote again.
No, I don't think we should vote again. I think we already voted.
For the next budget session, I mean, the council made the decision during their budget, which was voted on in June for the next fiscal year, and that's, I think it was staff's recommendation to include fares, and the council voted not to. So it would seem to me before the next budget session, if we again make a recommendation, that should hold some sway with the council.
I think council's fully aware. You have every right to, as an authority, to make any recommendation to council that you would like, but I think council is getting there.
Okay.
I think was there another question?
I was just going to ask that, since you're having those conversations at the council level as well as at Campo and Go Triangle, I think it is important that we address both safety and fares. They are not the same issue. $2.50 is not that big of a deterrent for someone who wants to do something on the bus or at the bus station. And I think far too often they're getting conflated as a
Right.
full solution. So just to keep that I know that you've expressed that, but to those around you on those boards, I think that it's really important to continue to express those things. There are reasons to bring fares back, and there are reasons to increase safety by other measures as well.
Yeah, it's holistic. We have to look at fares is just one piece of the puzzle of the process. I think it goes back to your point about a pass. It's a process. Fares are part of that. So, but we also have to look at, what else can we do? I remember the conversation when I sat on the Transit Authority. We talked about ambassadors for one, and we never went to the point of armed officers on the buses, but we've had this conversation over and over and over when it comes to safety on our buses, and safety, because our society is different. This isn't the same society that we had when I was a kid. So we have to figure out what we can do to make sure that everyone, regardless of income, feel safe in riding our system.
And just point of clarity, we are speaking the same thing, that bringing back fares does make the buses a bit safer, but there are
Right.
other things to do to make the buses safe, and I think we're all
Correct.
clear on that.
Correct.
Thank you.
And
Thank you all.
Can I add one additional comment, council member? So I hear everyone talk in terms of passes and sort of investments in sort of safety professionals, but it's also a branding stigma that I think sits in a different bucket. That I think if we lose the perception of safety, I think it's much harder to increase. So I think there's a perception branding. And so when you're considering that with the council, if you can include that branding perception, which is harder to fight than actual dollar investment.
Okay, definitely. And also, if there's any ideas that come out of your marketing committee, congratulations. I know there's a heavy lift, but when we look at marketing, that goes back to branding. So I think any things that you all have ideas, definitely sharing that, with the staff and things of going forward, that helps as well. When we're looking at how do we market, how do we use social media, how do we use Instagram, Twitter to talk about our buses and making sure they're safe. And those are things that also play a part in all of that. So I definitely look forward to us working together on that.
True.
One last thing, I do challenge the city to promote Go Raleigh more versus just, because we are a part of the city, but we don't have that connection where the city's actually promoting Go Raleigh more.
Okay, we'll work with the word more.
I just do want to make a point I agree that the way we post and things like that edify the buses, but we want to make sure that we're being honest in what we're posting and not telling people the bus is safe if they may not be. So it does have to be a hand-in-hand process.
Right,
For
directly.
sure. Thank you.
All right.
Anybody else have any questions?
That's it.
Comments?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you
much.
all. Thank you all for your leadership. I know it's been a long 6 years on the Transit Authority, but I do want to take the time to say just thank you for your work and for your service. I know you all have been advocating even before you got on the Transit Authority. That's why I was glad to say my name was on your original nominations to the Transit Authority. So again, thank you for your work, and thank you all for what you do.
Thank you. All right. We're going back into our
Madam
agenda,
Chair.
bringing our,
Sorry. You asked about the incidents. It wasn't for Councilor Branch, but you asked about the incidents being in the performance report. And incidents like that happen at the Go Raleigh station, like safety or assaults or things like that, are not included in our performance report, just like accidents for operators are. So I think we still have work from staff to get that information back to us. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention.
agree, and definitely it being broken down, so we're not just in a number of incidents, but what they are. Thank you for that, Madam Vice Chair. All right, we're calling the meeting back to order at 4:25. Going to the next item on the agenda is our action item for the 5310 Program Management Plan.
So the 5310 Program Management Plan is a federally required document. This document has been in Finance and Policy Committee for a couple of months at least now, under review, and I believe they did vote to approve that document and move it forward to the full board last week. And in reality, I think it should have been down under the committee reports, but since we've got it here, we can go ahead and cover that now if, Linda, you'd like to take that.
Was there something that we needed to vote on? Do you want us to wait?
No, we're happy to go forward. We voted to bring it forward to the full committee today, so, yeah.
No, do we need to vote?
Is there a vote?
Oh, there will be a vote.
The full board.
The full board has to vote.
So then we can just go ahead and jump into the route committee since it's the first up, and you all can.
Finance and policy, not route.
Yeah.
Oh, it
Yeah,
says route
finance
here.
and policy.
That's a typo.
Okay, well, there we go. Let's go ahead and discuss it then.
Okay, so Finance and Policy met last week, and we spent a very good amount of time on our bylaws, and that is what we're going to be reporting out to you at the November meeting. We're making good headway, but it is an interesting process. So that's, I thought, didn't you say that you wanted to go
It's a
ahead?
typo. On here, it says it's en route, so I was just going to jump to the committee comments, but it looks like it's supposed to
Okay,
be-
that was a mistake also. It's not en route. It's in finance and policy. So we can just, I thought you were, that was another mistake. It was put under route, but it's supposed to be under finance and policy.
I know, I'm saying we can just jump into talking about it since we have to all vote on it instead of going to the committees. 'Cause
Okay.
it's wrong on here.
Sorry for my misunderstanding, Madam Chair. Please, let's go ahead and have that presentation about the 5310 Program Management Plan. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Siobhan Tucker, and I am a senior fiscal analyst with the Transit Division. Got this microphone straight. I'm here today to present the Go Raleigh 5310 Program Management Plan, or PMP, for approval. The PMP is a federally required document. It outlines how the Section 5310 federal program, Enhanced Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities, program funding is administered within the Raleigh-Cary urbanized area. And as a recipient of FTA funds, the city, in coordination with Campo, must ensure that the PMP is consistent with federal guidance as well as local needs and priorities. The plan identifies goals and objectives of the funding, eligible projects for consideration, applicant review and approval processes, monitoring and oversight responsibilities, as well as other associated federal requirements. Updates to the PMP this round included incorporation of information related to vehicle purchase requirements, subrecipient monitoring and reimbursement updates, the grant cycle schedule, and updated policy and statutory references. In addition, information was also added related to Campo's new Regional Mobility Management Program. And that program will provide support for mobility management throughout the region by working closely with area transit providers to address gaps in public transportation, particularly in rural areas where fixed route service is limited. The program will improve outreach, consolidate transportation information, improve coordination among area providers, and improve the experience of transportation services for the elderly and disabled populations. Campo coordinated a public comment period that ran from August 21st through September 20th. The PMP was last approved by the RTA and endorsed by Campo in September 2020. Like Linda mentioned, last month, the PMP was brought to the Finance and Policy Committee as an information item and reported out to the full board as an information item. Last week, it was approved by the Finance and Policy Committee, and the request today is for approval by the full board. That concludes the presentation. I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have any questions?
I just have one. Do you have any idea if there was any kind of public comments received and considered at the Campo level?
Oh, great question. I did mean to mention that. We did reach out to Campo and there were no comments.
All right, thank you very much. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the 5310 Program Management Plan?
I'd like to move that we approve it.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor of approving the 5310 Program Management Plan, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. The 5310 Program Management Plan has been approved. All right, now we'll jump into our committee reports, and we will start with route, not including the 5310 Program Management Plan.
No, we can move to the FY25 work plan.
Yes.
So that plan is being presented tomorrow, if I remember correctly, to Campo. Is that correct? The 13th?
Yes.
Okay. So there are a few plans that have been rolled up that's going to be rolled up to Campo, but there were 2 routes that we did have questions and concerns about. One of them was the 18, I believe, where we're adding a 18L, increasing it from an hour to 30 minutes, but there was concerns about the second half of the leg, making it an hour where people have to transfer at the Pool Road location to pick up the 30-minute route, but our concerns was it's not feasible to the community past New Hope Road, but there was suggested that we make a New Hope route. So we're asking, even though the plan is being forwarded tomorrow, consideration to modify that route at some time in the near future, since the route will be expanding to the New Bern location, the New Bern hub transit route station that's coming. So take that into consideration, moving the 18 to come down Pool Road and go up New Hope Road and come back down versus shortening the route or eliminating that route, if that makes sense. The other one was the 7L, which is being considered or recommended to increase to 30 minutes. It was 45 minutes or an hour, I believe it was. But it was going to terminate at Seaboard Road, but we was wondering why that would terminate at a shopping center. I know Habitat Humanity is coming into the area, but again, we want to continue to serve the community and continue that. So I think that's been potentially maybe moving back to serve that shopping center, but also consideration, we're not cutting out Habitat for Humanity that's coming to the area because they still have access to the routes. But the way it was set up, I don't know if we can present that or show that, but there was concerns it wasn't feasible to the community the way it was presented. I don't know if we have that, but.
We do have a couple of slides if you wanted to show the maps.
Yeah,
But
that'd be
what
great.
staff agreed to do was take the information and suggestions that Route Committee made and try to come up with some alternatives for the 2 routes that would do exactly what the committee was asking for. So we're working on that now. We don't have that information yet to present today, but we can show the maps as submitted to via the Wake Transit Plan. So this is the 18 as it exists today. Basically the yellow and the kind of brownish colored line. It's a very long route. That entirety of that route operates hourly. And when we're at full service, the dotted line you see there that goes out to the existing bus garage is a 30-minute route or an hourly route that runs in the peak period only. So in the peak, from the garage to Pool Road facility to downtown, it operates at every 30 minutes. But from that point out further to along Barwell and Rock Quarry, it's only hourly. The Wake Transit Plan suggested breaking that route in 2 and creating a connector service similar to our 23, 24, 7L routes that would connect. So the committee was not real excited about that unless there was a potential opportunity to take the 8L further north up to the new park and ride and future transit center there at New Bern Avenue and New Hope Road. So that's what staff is looking at, and we'll bring a map back to the committee in November and take a look at that and provide the information that we've gathered. We have to time it. I measured it out today. It would be about 16 miles. Mm-hmm. And to do that hourly, that would be a 16 mile per hour route, and that's pretty fast for transit. Our typical service operates between 12 and 14 miles per hour. So the faster you get, the more on-time performance problems you can have. So we're going to look at that and come back with some input next month.
Would it better to reduce the time versus doing 60 minutes? Maybe do 45 minutes? Would that make it better?
No, that would be going the wrong way. We'd have to make it like an hour and a half, 15 minutes potentially.
Okay. And the concern with the 18L was if that's supposed to be an hour route, then it's not productive to the drivers or the bus because it will sit there for additional 45 minutes. So if it's going back and forth from Barwell to the park and ride, then that driver is sitting there for at least 45 minutes because it's not a full.
Yeah, from the end of the line there at Battle Bridge to the garage is about a little over 10 miles, so it would be a 10-mile-per-hour route, which would be pretty slow,
Right.
meaning there would be a good amount of layover on both ends of the route. And that's what brought the conversation about potentially extending it up to Newbert Avenue. So again, we're going to look at that and bring back some information in November.
Okay, thank you. Any questions about this one? We go ahead.
That's what you're talking about, them connecting it on the road.
Because the ideal place would be to turn before the park and ride to go up to New Hope, turn right at the light. So pull in New Hope, go straight up to New Hope, and come back down, then go back up, pull at the park and ride, and circle back down. That way you can connect to New Bern. You have cross connections versus that going downtown. Because those riders at Barwell, or Battlebridge, excuse me, can take the 17 and go straight downtown. Because this is saying take an hour and then get off and transfer to go downtown. It's no point for those residents that live along that way to get off a bus a mile down the road to transfer to the same exact bus.
I think something we've talked a lot about en route is that the L services should connect not just to routes that are going downtown, but should connect to services that are around the edges of town. And a lot of them do that, but this new 18L, the way it was proposed in the Wake Transit Plan, we just didn't feel did that very well, because it's really just about connecting to the route that goes downtown. And like LaTanya said, you could do that from Rock Quarry Road. So we were asking staff to kind of think holistically about how the L's function while also thinking about this particular route.
The next one was the 7L. We have that one up. So the change was, again, increasing to 30 minutes, which is a plus, but the concern was where the parts that circle in red is where the bus exists today, but in orange or yellow, it will be the new route cutting off that shopping center. There was no reason why we would cut off the shopping center, because people need to go to serve that area. It is convenient, it's serving the community, so I'm not sure what the reason was. We said we need to continue that service, so I think we're looking into keeping it as it is, but still letting you know Habitat Humanity, we are still serving that area. So I know that was concerns for them that they wanted service in that area. So in that loop, Habitat Humanity is right there in the yellow at the bottom. It's being built or it's coming, I believe. Yeah.
Why was the shopping center cut off?
Well, the 7L, where you see that smaller loop on the right side of that map in yellow, would connect to the new number 5, Biltmore Hills, that's operating every 15 minutes, and that would provide a connection over to the shopping center. But obviously staying on the 7L would be a more direct, so that would have just created an additional transfer that would have been required. What staff is doing again on this one is, we're going to look at this, try to determine what the funding looks like if we were to just maintain the existing route as it is today, and keep it at 30 and add the 30-minute frequencies in the off-peak, and just to see what that looks like. So again, we'll be bringing this back to Route Committee in November to review.
Thank you.
And I believe that was it for the plan. Did you have anything?
I guess the only other thing, there was like a brief discussion, just to elevate it so the whole board hears it, about when in the process of these work plans, committees and the board should be giving feedback. Because there is a little bit of we need to submit these as they are to the Wake Transit Plan for funding, but we've also only had maybe one other chance to talk about them before. And so I think since we have a lot of new board members, and even I, after many years, don't always know when to provide the feedback and when it's most critical, a request from us as a committee was if staff could be clearer about getting us this information so we can provide that feedback in the way that you need it in time to go forward for those things. Because I think we weren't going to get it right in 2016 what every route in 2028 needed to be. We weren't going to get it right last year what they need to be for 2028 either. So just being a little bit more proactive in letting us know, hey, we really need solid feedback and critical thinking right now when it's timely is very important.
Good point.
Okay, so next up is the microtransit contract. I'm not sure if anyone's going to speak on that.
I can provide a quick update if you want. We've been talking about the microtransit contract for a while. I'm happy to say that we are now under contract. Part of that contract provides with a full study of our entire system to review where opportunities for microtransit might exist. They will look at existing routes, existing ridership on those routes, and come back to us with a proposal that says, we think we can serve this area, on this particular route with low ridership with a better service using microtransit. So that's kind of the first step. We already have funding for Rolesville, which is currently served by the 401X, which is an express route from Triangle Town Center up to downtown Rolesville. Ridership is not good. Through the bus plan update that was recommended to transfer to a microtransit zone. So that'll actually be one of the very first things they look at is to kind of zero in on what that map for that microtransit zone looks like. And then they'll continue to expand and look at the rest of the system. So we are under contract and things are underway. We've just had, I believe we've only had one kickoff meeting so far. So as we continue with those meetings, we'll be providing updates to route committee.
Any questions? Okay. And next up is the bus shelter construction updates.
And we do have Sarah Tromba here today. Everybody likes to see improvements and pretty pictures, so Sarah went and actually added a few of some additional photos from improvements that we've made recently, so we'll let Sarah present.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Tromba. I am the Construction Projects Coordinator for the Bus and Bus Facilities Program under David Walker. And so when I presented last week, so the presentation that I'm going to show is just slightly different to the committee members that I presented to last week. This showcases more of every site that we have done for the Set 6 construction project from before and after construction. Figured that was important for the board to see because I didn't give almost a monthly update instead of and I have last updated you guys for the introduction in February, so I just wanted to give you more of an update and more details. So like mentioned, I did do an introduction to Set 6 and Set 7 construction at Route in January and presented to the RTA board in February. And since then, I have provided a few updates to Route Committee in April and May. And then last week, I provided an update to Set 6 and Set 7, as well as an introduction to Set 8. So the timeline for Set 6, we did start construction in March. We finished up construction in August, and there's a total of 16 standard bus stops that we have completed. So starting us off was Route 22 at South State Street at Bragg. We took down a very dated shelter, which you can see in the before, and then during construction, and then what it looks like today. For Route 7 at South Saunders Street at Iliagnis, what it looked like before, during, and what it looks like today. There will be a black cantilevered shelter installed at this site. That is coming up in the future, though. This is for the Route 40X at Garner Station Boulevard in front of the Carly C's. These are all before pictures. This is a slightly bigger site than our normal standard stop, so I just wanted to provide you what it looked like overall. On the left-hand side is what it before, what it looks like now of the pad area, the middle picture, and the right-hand picture will showcase the high-vis crosswalk that we have today. And these are what it looks like. So the pad, there is a curb ramp as well as the high-vis crosswalk that goes all the way across to the other side of the street where there is currently an existing shelter already. And these are for routes 20A and 20B, Garner Road at Bailey Drive, what it looks like before, as soon as they took or put up the retaining wall, and then what it looks like today with a bench. Also on routes 20A and 20B, this is at Garner Road at Meadowbrook Drive, what it looks like before, during construction, and what it looks like today. There will also be a black cantilevered shelter installed at this site as well. That's coming in the future. Also on the same routes, this is Garner Road at Willow Vista Road. This is a simple ADA landing pad. It was pretty simple. That's all it is there. Same thing here at Garner Road in Vandora Springs. Simple ADA landing pad was installed. At Route 20, Timber Drive outbound at Aversboro Road. This on the left-hand side is what it looked like before. We ended up moving the stop closer to the intersection that leads behind that Lowe's, I believe. And there was what it looks like today with the black cantilevered shelter and a bench as well as a pole-mounted trash can. This is just right down the street, not even a mile away on Timber Drive at Benson, what it looked like before, and as soon as they took up or put up the black cantilevered shelter, we are having black Zoid-like, what looks like the red trash cans with the red shelter. We're having black ones ordered. They are coming within the next week, and so those are going to be installed with the black shelters, which is going to make it look a little bit more slick, and that's one of those is going to be installed at this site. This is also on Route 20 at Jones Sausage Road at Partlow Street. This is also just had an ADA landing pad. This is also on Route 20, Garner Road at the Garner Senior Center. That's what it looked like before, and then right today it has the pad and the full amenity set up with the red shelter. Also down the street, the Garner Performing Arts Center, they received an ADA landing pad. On the left-hand side, you can see what it looked like before. You can barely see the bus stop sign. I had to really zoom in on that one. And so we brought it closer to the road and more in front of the sign for high visibility. On Route 1 at Wake Forest Road at the Salvation Army, this is what it looked like before and what it looks like today. There will be a black cantilevered shelter installed also at this site. It also had an existing bus or bike lane, and so we painted the bike lane green for those bikers. As well as across the street at Mimosa Street. Same thing here. This is also going to have a black cantilevered shelter as soon as those come in, and also a green bike lane for them as well. Now this is at Route 21 South Wilmington Street, also on Keeter Center Drive across the street from Oak City Cares. On the left is what it looked like before. It was very dated. It had a large hole in the roof, so it just wasn't serving our riders as it needed to. It was also in a big mud hole, as you can see. If it got wet, you would be standing in mud. And then what it looks like, or during construction on the right-hand side, and then what it looks like today is there.
All right.
So you have a ramp from the bus stop pad that goes off to the sidewalk that's right off of South Wilmington Street, stairs. You have a lean rail, you have a bench, a dual trash can, and this is a 25-foot canopy bus stop shelter, and the canopy is 9 feet wide. So there is a very large coverage with this shelter. Yes.
First of all, thank you for all this hard work. I know it's a lot, and you've really accomplished a lot, and having good bus shelters is I mean, we hear about that more than anything from folks, so I really appreciate all you're doing. How do you make the decision, like this bus shelter feels very modern, really attractive. How are you making the decision about when you use a shelter like this, or even one of the red shelters that are a little more funky versus the old black shelter?
Black shelters. So between the red shelters and the black shelters, so the cantilevered style versus the red shelters, for example, because they are pretty similar in width. The black shelters, however, can fit on a pad that's 4.5 feet wide, while the red shelters have a minimum of 6. So there is a little bit more requirements that it has to meet, as well as the mile per hour on the road with the sight triangle. We do prioritize the red shelters if we can, because I know City Council wants those red shelters out there. But if we cannot fit a red shelter, we have to go down to a Brasco Slimline, which is those black cantilevered shelters that you would see. And then,
But this one,
yeah, for this shelter, as we're looking at, this just had a very, very high ridership. And so, you know, they get a little bit extra shelter, they get a little bit extra amenities with the, you know, the dual trash can instead of the single trash can. They also get a lean rail in addition to a bench. It's a larger bus stop or a larger shelter pad. And so like this, it all boils down to ridership at that point.
ridership and site.
For this one, it wasn't a site
Size.
site triangle. It was mainly decided off of ridership.
This one, let me jump in real quick. We worked with and met multiple times with Oak City Cares and the management of the men's shelter, which is directly across the street. There were issues with the old site, obviously, as you saw from those photos. We worked with RPD on this one as well. We worked with the downtown, I can't remember the name of the team, but basically we looked at options using CPTED, which is crime prevention through engineering and design, as we developed this site and throughout the entire process. This shelter itself is a very good sample of a shelter using the CPTED principles. There's, it's open on all sides. There's not a lot of places to hide things. There were things being hidden and stashed in that old shelter. There are lots of little cubby holes where things like that could be done. So we worked with multiple departments and multiple different agencies in coming and finding that shelter itself. And we've actually decided to move towards that shelter as we move forward with our enhanced transfer and transit stops that are funded through the Wake Transit Program. Sarah, I think, has got a couple more slides that she's going to show. We do have, I think we bought 12 of what you'll see on a future slide for enhanced transit stops. But once we get those installed, then we'll probably be moving to these. And I think we've got another one of these on order for another downtown location that we're going to build.
I mean, just aesthetically, I really like it. I mean, we're trying to modernize our transit system. We ought to have bus shelters that represent a more modern and sleek design, and I think that's really attractive.
Another feature to this one that you may find it hard to see, obviously you see the bench there on the right under the shelter, but on the left side, there's a lean rail, which is also a recommendation through the CPTED. You provide less places to potentially lay down, but you provide additional resting places with that lean rail.
Oh, okay. All right, next on the list is, this is the final one off of Set 6 construction. This was off of MLK Junior Boulevard at South Haywood Street. This was they just had a mountable curb as well as a pedestal seat. The plans did call for a pedestal seat, but now if you look at it straight ahead, the mountable curb is pretty long. It can fit a 8-foot black metal bench. So we are putting that out, and they were planning on putting it out this week. I just don't have that updated picture as of yet. And then I'm going to move on to set 7, which is what we are constructing now. We started construction in July, and we are estimating a completion of late spring, early summer of 2024. There's a total of 8 sites, one of them being a standard stop, which has now been completed, as well as the 7 enhanced sites, which one of those has already been completed. So the standard stop was it serves routes 5 and 17. It's on Rock Quarry Road at the MLK Junior Memorial Gardens. This is a standard stop, like I said, with a red shelter. And then the enhanced stop is on caters routes 1 and the 24L, and it is located on Capitol Boulevard at New Hope Road. On the left-hand side is what you would see one of the full black shelters that we have on the streets. And then on the middle, that was during construction. And on the right is one of the dual guard cantilevered shelters that we ordered 12 of, that we are moving. Once those 12 are installed, we are moving far away from those, and we're going to do the canopy shelters that you saw on South Wilmington. And then a better picture of this site is here. So these shelters are 16 feet wide. You can't really tell by the picture, but there are glass sides. They come out about 2.5 feet on each side. There is a bench, a dual trash can, and a bike rack. And these sites, 6 of them, will be installed with real-time arrival signs, which will be installed by our vendor, Clever Devices. They will be installing those in the spring, summertime, as soon as the set is completed, because they're going to come out, install them, train us on how to use them, but those will be coming as well. And then, so what's next? We are continuing the Set 7 bus stop construction, and then I just wanted to introduce what is going to be Set 8. The sites are still being finalized, but we are estimating at least 40 to 50 new standard bus stop sites. We are currently undergoing drafting of bid documents and aiming to advertise for construction on November 1st. This would lead us to a December bid opening date and start of construction late winter, early spring of 2024. And this has just been presented as information, and I can take any questions.
This is awesome. Thank you for all the hard. This is awesome. Thank you for all the hard work. I know that we removed a couple shelters, including the one in front of the library on New Bern. Can we replace it with one of the canopy shelters instead of not having a shelter there at all, especially since they are safer, you were always saying?
Yeah, certainly any time something like that has to happen, we immediately start looking at that site to see what improvements can be made moving forward. It is a fairly long process. Those the infrastructure below ground requires quite a bit of engineering work. That cantilevered shelter that Sarah showed on Capitol Boulevard there at Millbrook requires some monster footers because all the weight is leaning forward. And so anyway, yes, to answer your question, yes, we can.
Thank you. And then I remember some time ago when we were talking about, it was a while ago, but we were talking about MLK in front of the statue getting a depot, kind of like what we saw the updated sleek one. Is that still something that we're working on? No.
Was it this one?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, MLK in front of the gardens?
Yeah, some time ago we talked about it having a whole depot in front of the gardens area.
Is that in set 7?
Well, there's going to have
It's a
2
ETP.
additional enhanced shelters. Those haven't been constructed yet. So they're going to have 2 more on Rock Quarry near the gardens, in addition to this standard stop.
No, but it was supposed to look like the new one.
It will.
It will, correct. Yeah, it will look exactly like this stop.
No,
there's
not
gonna
that stop, the other stop.
The Wilmington?
With
This
that
one?
Right. It was supposed to be like a longer area. Does anybody else remember us having this conversation?
It will look like the one on Capitol.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that in set 7?
Correct, yep.
Yeah, that will be built out in the next few months.
Okay, thank you.
We did work directly with our Parks and Recs department and the folks that had oversight of the gardens in that memorial to ensure that we were doing what they would be pleased with. They took it to the board that has some oversight of that to make sure everybody was pleased with that. They did like that shelter, the darker one, and the visibility because it's all glass. So we went through lots of engagement with those folks as we went through that design process.
Did they see this one?
I think when we started that conversation, we didn't have this one in our eyesight yet, but they were very happy with the one that they're going to get.
Is it possible to show this one as an option? Was it too late?
The design is complete and it's bid and going to be built within 30 to 60 days. Okay. And the design includes the needed infrastructure for the other shelter, so we couldn't do this one. This one needs it does require additional infrastructure below ground, but it would be at completely different locations on the ground.
Okay. Will it have the LED board as well?
At that site, I would have to double check.
Okay.
Yes, it will.
Yes. Okay, great.
I really like the black one with the glass. I think it looks modern also. It's not as big, but yeah, I think they look sharp.
Madam Chair, may I make a comment? I wanted to just make a recommendation to our marketing team. If you haven't already, folks, this would be great social media, just good, people really want to see that we're building more shelters. So I encourage y'all to use some of these beautiful photos for the community.
All right. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And that's it for route.
Awesome. Are there any questions in regards to the route committee report? All right, we'll go ahead and move on to policy and finance.
Well, I practically told you everything earlier. Yeah, when Finance and Policy met last week, we did vote on sending the 5310 Program Management Plan forward. Thank you very much for approving it. And we also spent really most of our time on the bylaws. So we will have to you our agreed upon draft for next month's full authority meeting. And I think the other things that are listed there were just minor revisits of things that we've had on our agenda previously, no new news to report. So that was it for Finance and Policy.
Thank you. Any questions for Finance and Policy Committee? All right, home run stretch. We'll go ahead and have the reports from the Marketing Committee.
Andrew Epstein and staff are going to make presentations.
Andrea Epstein. This is our newest video on how to ride the bus, and Mason is the star of the video, so we wanted everybody to see the newest of the Commute Smarter, Not Harder series.
Hi, Commute Smart Raleigh. Today, you will become a bus expert. Go Raleigh is the citywide bus service connecting you across the capital. Need to go to work, school, the doctor's office, or the grocery store? Take Go Raleigh. Whether running errands or just seeing friends, you can go with Go Raleigh. But before you hop on that big red bus, there are a few things you should know. There are 5 key steps taking a Go Raleigh bus. 1, arrive at your stop at least 5 minutes before the scheduled departure time. When you arrive, stand or sit a safe distance from the curb. 2, as your bus approaches, make sure it's the correct bus by looking at the sign at the top of the bus. If it is your bus, signal to the operator you would like to get on and wait for them to come to a complete stop. Additionally, our operators are trained to assist riders with mobility issues, and Go Raleigh also has onboard ramps to assist. 3, enter at the front door of the bus and take your seat. 4, enjoy the trip. And 5, when it's time to get off, pull the yellow cord to signal the operator you'd like to stop. Wait for the bus to come to a complete stop, then get up and exit the rear door of the bus. And don't forget to thank your bus driver for a safe ride. As a bonus tip, if you need to cross the street to your destination, please use the nearest crosswalk. It is dangerous and unsafe for you and drivers to cross mid-street. Now that you know how to ride the bus, let's tell you why you should ride the bus. There are plenty of benefits, including saving money, helping reduce greenhouse gas emissions, exploring your community and getting to hang out with friends and family, using the free Wi-Fi and USB charging ports on the bus, and all this while improving your overall health and reducing stress. So finally, now that you know how and why to ride the bus, here are some good tips to follow. 1, no eating or drinking other than water on the bus. Please help us keep the space clean for others. 2, no use of tobacco or vape products. Please be courteous and respectful to other riders. 3, please be prepared to volunteer your seat to those with physical disabilities if the bus is crowded. 4, know where your bus is and when to get off by using GoRaleighLive.org or the transit app for live bus tracking. If you have any further questions on how to easily enjoy a Go Raleigh ride or any other commute, please email commute@raleighnc.gov.
That's it. Thank you. Did you want to report out, or would you like us to do presentations?
Well, I understood that the chair requested some specific presentations, and the staff is prepared to talk about, let's see, you're going to be talking about your current outreach to middle schools and high schools. That's something we've been encouraging them to do more of. And also the metrics since we have started the Busopoly campaign.
Okay.
Before you do that, the video is really good to see. I'm sure you guys liked acting all that out. But it's good to see some of those basic things in video form, and I hope that we kind of regularly can share that now that we've got it made.
Right, thank you. Mason did a good job with that one.
Give
Turned
that
out
man an
well.
Oscar.
So for the high school and middle school outreach we've been working on, we have reached out to 10 high schools and 9 middle schools. Those are all the public schools along our bus routes currently. We reached out both to school staff and PTA members. And for all the outreach at each individual school, we provided the routes that connected to their schools, the stops, and individual walking directions, so maps for each of the 19 schools. So we have received responses from more than half of the folks, but you can see here some haven't responded, some have set up meetings with us, some we have already met with. We've done tabling events at, and then others have also shared the information. So here's a list of all the high schools, and then very similar response with the middle schools. Some want to meet with us, some we've already met with. Many have shared information that we sent along, et cetera. So in working with them, we found out that there is an advertising option that we could reach out to the individual schools and give them this information. So we're working with the committee on this, and they had several questions that we're waiting to hear back on about the data we would get from it. Can they provide pixels? And there was one more question that we've reached out about that I can't remember at this point, but we have not heard back yet. But we are considering doing this campaign in the beginning of the new year when school comes back after break, and reaching out again to the individual 18 schools that are exactly on bus routes.
And I just wanted to add to that it is challenging to reach out to schools. You think it wouldn't be that hard, but obviously they've got a lot of information they need to provide to their students and their instructors, their parents all the time. And so our staff has recommended that we maybe actually need to put some money into this and helping to advertise as in addition to the direct outreach. And also continuing to encourage the whole school system to send this information out that, the bus is available and it is free to students, beyond even just the middle schools and the high schools that are actually currently have bus stops and access at them. So it's a continuing process, and they're going to continue working on it, as well as getting ready for the next school year in August of 2024 as well.
I have a question. Where would you advertise to the students? Like where?
So the Wake community flyers go out in an email. It's like an email link per school that goes to the families of that school. So the students and the parents get it. And then you click on it and go and look at like all the flyers, like the track out programs. You use this to advertise and other things like that.
It's basically, we're going to be advertising in a communication that parents already get. So that's the idea. I mean, it's frustrating. They have been. It's frustrating to me that schools are not even responding, particularly when there's a yellow bus driver shortage, as well as for our own system.
Depending how we move forward, there is a print and a digital component to the partnership.
Have you considered possibly reaching out to the career development counselors at the schools? The career development counselors can help you organize something where they can bring the students to you in advance, and they often have field trips and things that need to take place with Wake County Public Schools. And if you reach out to, I can send you her information, but if you reach out to one of the one that's for the school system, then you don't have to go through reaching out to each individual school. She'll reach out to the other career development counselors. And it's even an opportunity to make it around, a day around, not just riding the bus and routes, but jobs and transportation. That's something that they would really, really be interested in, having the students come out to, giving them different career options. But you can tailor it the day around the students being able to tour a bus, learn how to do this, that, and the other, learn about the routes, learn about jobs and transportation at Go Raleigh, things like that. It could be maybe even scheduled around like one of our days that we already have planned. And then it's just about reaching out to the school to get them to bring the students.
That would be great. I would love that contact information.
Oh, that's
If
a
you
really
should
clever.
Share it.
Thank you.
That's why I'm the chair.
Which reminds me, we should talk about the Ambassador Academy too. But
Yes.
I was just going to say quickly, this is really exciting to see. Building the future of our ridership is critically important, and getting people to know when they're in middle school and high school that the bus is a easy, simple, independent way to get around is really, really important. The only thing that I'm curious about, I think like the outreach you guys have done is really great in creating the personalized maps and things like that. I think being prepared now for the beginning of the next school year is also a good part of that. But I'm curious, as the schools are experiencing the school bus shortage, they're sending out alerts and emails even day of that have links at the bottom of them to tell people to use their special app and things like that to parents. Like, your kid might not be on the bus, have their bus today, make sure you check here and here. It doesn't seem like it would be too much at the system level where they're sending those emails to add a line that says, check if they could take the city bus, and link to a central place on our website where we have now placed all those personalized maps. So just kind of adding in some of those extra layers. And since you guys are such a great marketing team, maybe we're doing a little more hand-holding than they maybe need, but I think y'all can handle that.
who are those alerts coming from? Is it Wake County Public School System or individual schools?
I've gotten them from both directions. I don't know other parents.
Okay, well,
you guys have gotten, but I've gotten them from
Angie,
both
if you need any help making those connections, talk to the parents on the, like Jen.
And Leo and Terrence.
That's a great suggestion. I love it.
And connected to Madam Chair's statement, there's two major events that Wake County put on that every parent and potential employees want to go to. One is the Magnet School Fair It's jam-packed. People are parking and walking down the street. So I think that's an easy partnership. And then also they have a job fair, actually, which I think those two will be easy partnerships between the two of those.
And that way you don't have to reinvent the wheel, just plug in what already is
Great,
working.
that's great.
But we do want to make sure our buses are super safe if we're getting our babies on them.
Before you go to the busopoly metrics, are you done with this component? Because I should have, it was first on the agenda and I skipped over it, but related to engaging young people, our Commute Smart team, led by Mason, started something very creative this fall. Actually, I'm sorry, last summer. They called it the Commute Smart Ambassador Academy. And this was targeted towards middle school students. And for the first year, they partnered mostly with Moore Square and also children of City of Raleigh employees to try an academy, which was basically a 1 week kind of camp on all the different ways to get around that are not a car. Encouraging and teaching kids about school, about bikes, bike lanes, walking, riding the bus. And the idea is that we're kind of building some new knowledge and ambassadors in the community of kids who are not even ready to drive yet. So they start thinking about other ways to get around, and part of their bonus was that they got a bicycle. So anyhow, this was the first time they created all the content. They worked really hard, and they're thinking about how can we, scale this up in the future. So it was a creative new idea. We've got a lot of good new energy among our staff.
Thank you for that.
Andrew Miller, Marketing. So we'll get into a little bit. We've talked a lot in the past about the design and what we wanted to do with this, but now we're going to talk a little bit more about the results and where we've actually been. After our first month, we saw some really high click-through rates, which is really the end goal of our social media ads. Through the first month, it was over 5%, which is outstanding based on national average and different metrics. We wanted to leave it alone and see how it expanded over the whole first 3 months of our campaign, so we could get a better idea of what those numbers are actually going to look like, since we did have a high number in the first month. And after the 3 months, our click-through rate ended up being 3.17, which is still very outstanding. The industry average is 0.90%, so that's a lot higher. And then as you see as you move into the next 2 months that the numbers did drop a little bit, but like I mentioned, we wanted to leave the content the same so we could get a better baseline for what those numbers would be. And when you see that drop off, we're kind of relating that to some content fatigue and seeing the same thing. When you see the same ad over and over, even in a commercial form, you kind of drown it out a little bit. But we wanted to get those baseline numbers. But moving forward, we have a plan to switch those ads out monthly, and so that we can give people new content and fresh content each month, and then continue to track those numbers. So here you can see that through our paid social ads that we were able to generate 6,054 link clicks to our Busopoly page, so to our website. We'll get into more of how our entire campaign has generated more traffic to the website. But also within that, our cost per click was just 42 cents. And so the industry average for that is $1.86, and the lowest across the board, across a lot of industries, is around 45 cents. So we're even below that. So talking about our bang for our buck and being able to switch out things, which is what you wanted as a board and that we wanted to emphasize as a marketing committee. And with our staff, we were able to achieve those goals on the paid social side. So also more digital base. This is through our Google ads. So anytime someone Googles transit or ways to get around, we are putting money towards being able to generate our content towards the top of their Google search. And here we were able to, as I flip my page, we were able to generate a click-through rate of 49.73%, which is outstanding as well. And we were able to generate over 11,000 impressions. So getting a lot of hits whenever people are looking for ways to get around our city.
And this is the first year we've ever tried this. So we're, yeah.
Yep, and with this, we contracted this out to someone else to handle this that has a better grasp on it, which, it kind of works well because then we can keep an eye on our social media kind of in-house and save some money that way as well with our spending. As we move forward to our display ad, so this is whenever you're, browsing the web and you feel like Google is listening to you. That's kind of where this comes into place. So your click-through rates here aren't as high, but you're still getting a lot of impressions. So we're still reaching a lot of eyes and in our audience. And then also this is geofencing. So with this, we were able to provide Triangle Digital with all of our routes, and they're able to put a half-mile radius along all the routes. So people who are along the routes are able to see that, hey, this is an option to commute to work or to go wherever you want to go in the city. So talking about how all this comes together, and our end goal is to get more visitors to our website so we can educate them on how to ride the bus, the simple ways to ride the bus. So across a 3-month span, we were able to generate 62,000 users and 59,000 new users. Compare that to the same 3 months last year. It was 47,000 users and 44,000 new users. So that's an increase of 15,000 visitors to the website across that 15-month span. So year over year, you see that 15,000 visitor increase. And to put that into perspective and to kind of see where those visitors came from, during that same 3-month span, we had 17,000 views of the Busopoly page alone. So you're able to see that those numbers are getting driven from what we're doing across the board, across our social and digital ads, along with the traditional ads that we're placing in other outlets as well. Questions?
I had just one question, Madam Chair. Have y'all tried to engage influencers in the city to ride public transportation or be advertisement for public transportation in this season where people are asking questions about safety?
Yeah, so that's a good point. We did not look at that with this current campaign, but whenever we went to a marketing conference for all of transit, a national conference, that was something that they mentioned as well, and especially with the younger generation and people on, watching a lot of videos and stuff, that is a way to reach people. And that's something that we can look to as we move forward with our future marketing campaigns.
Thank you.
So I like the new fall campaign that's going out. And I noticed you guys are putting the campaign directly on the Facebook page, not just as sponsor. So I would say continue to do that, but also put more hashtags, because hashtags are trackable and searchable. So definitely put transit, bus, stuff like that. So when people are on the web, that way it can pull back to the website and to Go Raleigh.
Yeah, we can do that.
Do we have a TikTok page yet?
We're not allowed to have TikTok
Okay.
based on city standards.
Just wanted to ask.
They do have IG though.
I follow the Instagram. This is, he asked about videos, so I was thinking about it. This is really exciting to see. It's been a long time coming, and it's really good to see us jump in on social, and you can see the interactions with our ridership and our potential ridership, and I think let's just keep going and make those improvements you guys are seeing you need to make.
I think it's phenomenal. I just have one question about how we're rolling out the gamification of it.
Yeah, so we did 1 month for the first edition of the game, and we replaced QR codes at various bus stops on different routes. We didn't see necessarily the participation that we would have liked to see, so we went back and we're taking a new approach, and we're discussing that with our partner on that has the app, the Eventsy app, and see how we can hit a broader audience. And we're going to readdress that as we get farther into our Go Shop campaign, specifically closer to whenever, like the holiday season and that sort of thing, whenever people really are in the mindset of Go Shop and they were going to get out.
Is the campaign on the buses?
Yes, and also whenever we integrate this new edition of the game, we're going to be able to display all of this on our digital screens throughout the bus system.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Well, it looks like we're to the end of our agenda. Of course, the performance reports are online. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns before we wrap up today? All right. So we will be here next month, but we will not be meeting in December. Next month will be the last meeting for me and Karen, my last time warming this seat. So I do look forward to wrapping this up with you all. So we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to adjourn at 5:27 p.m.